So I'm very excited, guys, to have Matt Moore with me today. He is one of Australia's experts in fitness racing. You train heaps of clients to do their first obstacle races. You've also trained clients to actually win obstacle races, which is very cool. And there's a wide variety of obstacle races that are happening in Australia, across the world. I've actually seen some of your clients do some and compete in obstacle races around the world. I've seen one recently, actually, that I want to touch on soon as well, which should be cool. But yeah, I'm very excited to have you here today, Matt. Somebody that I've known for a long time and just appreciated. And you've always, in all the obstacle races that I've completed at, you've always been there as such a good support for everybody. Not just for the winners, not just for some of the people, but for absolutely everybody there. You're just supporting everybody, and I always enjoyed seeing you around. I'd be keen to catch up with you again. Obviously, you're up in Queensland now, but it would be absolutely awesome to try and do an obstacle race up there with you one time soon.
For sure, man. We're always cooking some stuff up here. So I'll let you know when the next race is up here and you can come up.
Yeah.
You just missed Raw Challenge Gold Coast, which was on the weekend. But
I did see that.
mate, yeah, look, I'm happy to be here. As I said, I'm usually on the other end of the podcast.
Yeah.
Chatting to people. So it's not often I'm sitting on this side. And I was thinking when I was just about to dial into this, where did I actually meet you, man? Was it at say a 12-hour enduro at Doilo, I reckon?
I reckon that was probably the first time we met. Yeah, it's probably the 12-hour enduro. I'd met you, but then from there we just kept on bumping into each other everywhere.
24-hour enduros and Spartans and
yeah. So I spent a year going around and doing all the Spartans, and that's where I got to know you a little bit better, and started seeing you at all the events and loving all your outfits. I love some of the speedos that you'd wear, or just some of the other Spartan outfits I've seen you wear before. They're always cool.
Or pineapples or
Suits
something.
Pineapples. Lots of.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of you. If I could definitely say that.
Most people have seen too much of me. I'm gonna guess that you sort of did the Spartan tour in about 2018.
That's correct. Yeah. I reckon it was 2018. Cool. Then I did the tour. Yeah, and that's where I would have met you for a lot of those events, and the 12-hour and the 24-hour races and all that as well. The True Grits.
All the crazy stuff we've done.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very excited to have you today. And like one thing I wanted to start with just asking is, I guess how you got to where you are right now. How you got into fitness, how you got into obstacle racing. If you could touch onto those topics, that'd be amazing.
How far back do you want to go?
Oh, I would like to go all the way. If you got the time, we can do more of these recordings in the future.
we have time. Mate, I mean, I was, I guess, always reasonably active growing up. Played footy, soccer. I was always doing something. I probably went away from fitness sort of in my late teens. I got into drinking and partying pretty hard.
Yep.
Mate, bounced around with a lot of jobs. Tried a lot of stuff. Tried a heap of stuff. Probably had more jobs than birthdays by the time I was about 25. I ended up going into logistics. So I started out with like moving, helping people move house, helping businesses move, helping businesses relocate. I got into sort of sensitive freight. Worked my way in that industry up to project management and then up to business development management. So I sort of got up to like high level sales.
Yeah.
So I'd go in and like tender a $1 million project for Telstra and then win that project and then go in and project manage, and we'd have 100 staff on it each day, and I'd sort of project manage those jobs. And throughout that period of sort of going from like working, sort of, my dog's just come downstairs. Hello, Axel. I may just have to let him outside, but I think in that period of going from sort of being a little bit more physical, and sort of say working with tools, I guess, to working in an office, I started to get a little bit fat, a little bit out of shape. I was moving less. I was a lot more sedentary. I got a little bit bigger. I was climbing up this corporate ladder, and I thought there was happiness at the end of it.
Yeah.
And I got to a point where I was not really looking after my body. And when I say I was sort of out of shape, I was trying to hunt for a photo. There was a photo that triggered me.
Yeah.
And I'll circle back to it, but I can't find the photo.
Damn.
It was with an ex-partner, and I think they all got deleted. But But
These things happen.
so I'd sort of gotten myself where I wasn't really fit and active.
Mm.
I think I tapped out at like 105 kilos.
Wow.
Um, which was a bit of a guard. Like I've
Yeah.
always been a bit of a big frame.
Yeah.
So I sort of hold it pretty well even when I am overweight.
Yeah.
So I can get sneaky overweight and I don't look too terrible.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
um, but yeah, I
Thanks,
just
God.
gotten unfit, man. And I was drinking, I was smoking, I was doing all
Mm.
sorts of drugs. I was in relationships that I shouldn't have
Yeah.
fucking been in.
Yep.
And man, I thought that if I built up
Mm.
if I climbed this ladder and earned a certain amount of
Yeah.
money and achieved a certain amount of success, that there was happiness there. And one day I just realized there wasn't.
Yep.
And I was in a relationship with a girl who was great. She was lovely,
Yeah.
but it just wasn't a fit for me.
Yeah.
I was on a holiday with her, got tagged in a photo. And
Mm.
you know that like when you get tagged in those
Yep.
photos and you see it and you're like, oh fuck, I got fat.
Yep.
You're like,
I've seen those
damn.
photos of myself before. I've had those.
Yeah, and being in the fitness
Yeah.
industry, you often you'll get that. Like you go, oh, so
100%.
why are you here? I just got tagged in a photo and I look fucking terrible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that was the trigger, right?
Yeah.
So I
See it
started
from the
getting into the
outside
gym.
perspective.
Yeah, I started getting
Yeah.
into the gym. I started
Mm.
training. I got into it pretty hard.
Yeah.
I tend to be pretty obsessive when I do
So
get into
you
things.
were 25 at this time, around that age?
Yeah, I'd say sort of late 20s, maybe
Your late 20s.
27,
Yeah.
somewhere
Okay.
around there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, started getting into training. And then after a while, I,
Mm.
uh, I was in this sort of nice balance for a while where I
Yeah.
was training well. Work was going really well because my mental health and everything was obviously better because I was training.
Of
And
course.
then
Yeah.
after you get into the gym and you're spending like 2 or 3 hours a day in the gym,
Mm.
people start asking you for advice and people start
Yes.
going, oh,
Yeah.
can you help me with this? Can you? And I tend to be pretty helpful anyway. So if I see
Yeah.
somebody in there struggling and I can help them, I try to help them without giving them unsolicited advice where I can.
Yeah.
But
100% in the kindest way
but
possible. It's always
yeah,
touching, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, it sort of turned into just helping some people in the gym, and then people, going, oh, you know, you've managed to help me a heap. And I'd say, well, I can probably help you on the weekend if you want. Meet me here at this park and we'll do some
Yeah.
stuff. And you know, I all of a sudden I'm working 9 to 5, which was way more than a 9 to 5 job, but I was
Yeah.
earning good money. Um,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm training people for free on a fucking Saturday in a park, and I'm enjoying that
Yeah.
a lot more than the job that makes me money.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, there's something in this. I'll get my qualification.
Mm.
Um, I sort of walked both worlds for a while. I got qualified, and then I was just training people in the park on the weekends, and then I
Yeah.
started playing with a little bit of programming and sorting
Mm.
people out. And then I think I sidestepped careers, not careers. I sidestepped
Yeah.
companies.
Right.
Sort of moved into a higher role in a company. I went to this company, and it was just not a fit culturally. I
Right.
didn't like any of the way they did things. Um, and they brought me in to sort of make some changes because things weren't going well, and
Mm.
um, take them in a different direction, and they were just
Yeah.
blocking every change that I was trying to make. And I'm saying,
Uh,
I think we should do
that would have
this,
been
this,
hard.
and they're going, that's not the way we do things. And I'm like, okay, well, what the fuck did you hire me for?
Yeah,
So
exactly what I mean.
that didn't work, and I think I was there for sort of 3 months.
Mm.
Um, and I just went, you know what? I'm just gonna grow
Yeah.
my fitness business. I'm just gonna have a crack.
Love that.
So I
That's
left
awesome.
corporate. I
Yep.
got a job in a gym, and
Hmm.
I went full-time coaching.
That's awesome.
Um, I obviously had been earning good money for a while. My spending
Yeah.
was matched to that.
It's
Uh,
hard transition.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I had to fucking work my ass off, man. And like
Yeah.
for that first sort of year, there was a
Yeah.
gym that opened around the corner from me, a UFC gym in Sydney, and I was
Mm.
like one of the foundation PTs there. So
Yeah.
that opened, and yeah, I was working probably 5 in the morning. I'd get in there, and
Yep.
8 at night I'd be out,
That's
and I
crazy.
was sleeping in my car between sessions, and I'm
Yeah.
fucking
That's
hustling. And I
I
think I got up
completely
to about
understand that story
six.
right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I got up to about 60 sessions a week that I was
Yeah.
doing,
Yep.
and that's some fucking hustle.
That's
And
some hustling to
then
that level. That's
yeah,
like 60 hours in the gym. Like it's a lot of time,
plus
like
your marketing, plus your
yeah,
admin, plus your gaps between
exactly.
sessions, plus
Yeah.
yeah. So I was probably 100 hours a week in
It's
the
tough.
gym.
That's insane.
Um,
Yeah.
and that was maybe I probably sustained that for maybe 3 to 6 hours, 3 to 6 weeks,
Yeah.
months rather. before I'm like, well, this isn't fucking very sustainable at all.
100%.
I think a mate around then, it was probably it was probably 2016. A mate said, "Oh, let's go and do this Spartan thing." I'd been doing a little bit more sort of bodybuilding, like I was getting pretty strong. I could do some pretty cool, like explosive plyo stuffs, like push-ups onto chairs and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I could do some pretty cool shit. I'd played around with a bit of calisthenics, but I had fuck all cardio.
Yeah.
So we went and did this.
A lot of people just
this
do
Spartan
weights
sprint.
bodybuilding, and this is cool that you get into this world.
Yeah. So we went and did this Spartan sprint, and I mean, I looked okay. You know, if you looked at me, you're like, oh, he's pretty fit. But we did this Spartan sprint at Picton, and I think it was about 8Ks.
Yeah.
And I think it took us, I've still got the medal somewhere. It took us an hour 40.
Yeah.
Kicked the shit out of us.
Yeah.
And my mate and I, and there was like mud pits out of the it was rope climbs out of mud pits, and I couldn't do that. And like there was all this stuff that I was like, fuck, how do people do this?
Yeah.
And then I think we were going up. There was this crazy barbed wire crawl that like went up a hill and around and back down the hill. And my mate and I think it's like we're an hour 20 into this race. We're both fucked. We'd probably been on the piss the night before. We
good pre-training.
We're sort of going through this barbed wire crawl, and then this couple passed us, and they were just like, I think they had Herbalife shirts on. I can't remember their names, but we were like, oh, how bad's this? And they're like, oh, this is our last race. And we're like, what do you mean? They're like, oh, we did the beast yesterday and the super this morning. And we're like, what do you fucking mean? They're like, we did the 21 and the 14, and now we're doing the 7. And we're like,
for fun.
You could do 3. Like, and it just opened my eyes up, and I was fucking hooked, dude. I love that. I think that was May of 2016. I think by the end of that year, I'd done my first 12-hour enduro.
Wow.
I think I was at the 24-hour, but I just the next event I was at, I think, was True Grit and in Dargle Farm, where I watched the 24-hour enduro and went, fuck, people do this for 24 hours. This is insane. I think
2017 might have been my first year there, actually, or maybe my second year there. Oh, sorry. No, it would have been maybe the year after was my first year. I could be wrong, but it
might have been 2017. Actually,
it might have been 2017 was my first year there, I think. But
I think that might have been. That was the one where there was like the crazy rainstorm, right?
Yes, that's the one. Is that the one?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was my first one.
So I just did the normal lap because I've got photos of like. Well, no, I just did the 11K. I didn't do the 24-hour.
Okay. So I might not. Yeah,
because I think the Spartan was my first, and then the 24-hour. The True Grit 11K at Dargle Farm, but I watched the 24-hour take off. And like people's tents are floating away, and I'm like, what is this chaos?
It was nuts.
But that was like the first year. So maybe there was something that I did before the Spartan. But anyway, so that year I ended up doing Spartan Picton. I ended up doing the True Grit 11K at Dargle Farm. Then I did the 12-hour enduro at Dawson, and then I did the Bright Trifecta.
Wow.
So that was like my first year of obstacle racing.
That's a big year. It's a really big year.
First year. That's but yeah, I was fucking hooked, man. And I'm getting on these courses, and I'm meeting people who are like cancer survivors and people who have had some serious shit go wrong, and they're just reinventing themselves and pushing their limits, and you're just having these amazing conversations as you try not to die carrying a sandbag up the fucking mountain. And I was like, this is what I want to do. These are the people I want to work with. I don't want to work with people who want abs. I want to work with people who are changing themselves on a mindset level.
100%.
I shortly realized that after that traveling to events like Spartan Bright and doing the Spartan circuit was not very congruent with doing 60 hours a week of PT 100%. In the gym.
It's very hard to manage both.
Yeah. And that was when I started to go, well, how do we do this online? How do I build a community? How do I train people for obstacle racing? And that was where I started looking at just going into online PT. So at first it was like, well, I'm going to do more of this style of training for my clients. And then as I started to travel, I started to meet people, and I started to help people online. And by sort of 2019, I was by 2019, I was purely online.
Wow, that's amazing, isn't it? It's a need, and there's a lot of people out there that are interested in these races, and it's quite a nerve-wracking thing to try and do it just for your first time ever, as you have experienced. And it's funny because your experience is very mirrored with my experience. My first introduction to obstacle racing was I was working out at a gym, and these guys were like, "Hey, like there's an event in Sydney, like let's go." I went with the guys. I was doing mostly bodybuilding training, and I thought, oh, it was a 7K race or 5K race at Olympic Stadium. It was when they used to run it there. And
Yeah.
I thought, oh yeah, I'll be fine. I took off in this race, and I'm such an idiot thinking that I'd be all right with this. Sprinted, just absolutely sprinted. I thought,
Yeah.
oh cool, I'm in front of everybody, and then slowly, everybody's just overtaking me like crazy. And I got to
Yeah.
the end of that race, and both of my legs cramped, and I just never run that far ever. I'd never even tried anything like that. I was such a fool and such an idiot, but it was such a good introduction that I fell in love with it as well, because just seeing these people and just talking to a few of them, the support that they gave me throughout that whole race as well to even get through that thing was incredible. So it just was a big learning curve as well. So I love it. I love that we had that parallel there a little bit. But yeah, it's such a great thing that you help these people out. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think that's part of being a good coach, dude. You know, if
Yeah.
you didn't sprint away at the front of that race and fucking die,
Yeah.
you know, you wouldn't have that tool in your toolbox to help clients that have that
Yeah.
problem. Like I
100%.
say to clients, you can't win a race in your first K, but you can fucking lose it.
Yeah, that was me.
How
That's
do
a
I
great
know that,
example.
dude? Because I took off at start lines too fast. I tried to stick with Liam McKenzie, and
Yeah,
you know,
like when
you go, I'm
danger.
going to stick with these guys at the front and run a PB, and it ends up being the slowest you've ever run a sprint because
That's
you've
yeah,
tried to stick with them for
it's nuts,
maybe a
eh?
kilometer.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah,
good
so I think
fun at the
like
time. Yeah, that's
those
awesome.
things that
Yeah.
you those mistakes you make, they give you better
Mm.
empathy as a coach. But
Yeah, very much
yeah,
so.
there's
Yeah.
something about it, man. There's something about like getting out and doing something
Yeah.
like an obstacle race where you are working with clients, you're changing people on a mindset level as opposed to
Yeah.
just the physical, but it's fun. It
I love
takes you
that too.
back to being a kid.
Yeah.
The community is fucking amazing. Like
It's
everyone's
incredible.
supportive,
Yeah.
everyone helps you and uplifts you. And, you know, it doesn't matter whether I've got the same respect for the guy who's over the
Mm.
line in the Danzy who's over the line in 2 hours as I do for the guy
Yeah.
who's over the line in 8 hours and
Yeah.
walked
That's what
and had to sit down for an hour in the middle, you know.
that's really what I appreciated about you. And not that it's like, it's not like the people don't care, but I just noticed with you in particular that you were just like, it didn't matter where anybody was, you just gave the same level of support, the same level of care to every single person that you ever spoke to. It was something that I really
Mm.
appreciated about you, is like just being open to talk to everybody. And it was something in that way that I probably took from you a little bit as well, and kind of learned and grew as myself as a coach, that, just to be able to support everybody in that way. And it was really cool. Definitely, I felt incredibly supported when I was out racing, and you would just come past and just say something random. I don't even remember exactly, but it always made me feel better. So it worked.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you
It
for
was a good
that, man.
thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Part of that, I worked
Mm,
out early that, especially
yeah.
within something like a 24-hour enduro,
Yeah.
um, I worked out early that help, and maybe this just comes from like team sports and doing that
Yeah.
growing up, but
Yeah.
helping people with what they're struggling with helps you with what you're struggling with.
Yeah,
So
totally
like if
awesome.
I'm running
Yeah.
around and like I'll do a 24-hour enduro and
Mm.
I'll run around on the 2 a.m. lap, which is like, or the 3
Yeah.
a.m. or the 4 a.m. lap, which is like the fucking ghost lap. No one's out there.
No,
Everyone else
never.
is in their warm tents and everyone's like,
I've been
fuck
asleep at that
that.
time. Yeah, at those
Yeah,
races.
fuck, I have too. I have too. But I do remember they gave you caffeine one year and I think you ran a PB at like 7 in the morning.
I died, and then I came back and ran 4 or 5 laps, and I was the last person on the
Resurrect, born
course. It was
again.
weird.
Yeah.
I scraped in
But
with
yeah,
like
so
4 minutes left.
yeah, but like I'd be out there and I'd be out on this lap and I'm running and like,
Yeah.
like I was never out there winning the races, but I
Hmm.
think my best out there was like 120 Ks or something over 24 hours.
That's
I
incredibly
wasn't super
impressive.
slow, but
Yeah, that's incredibly impressive.
we'd be out there jogging
Mm.
and, I'd come up on somebody who's maybe walking and I'd just
Yeah.
stop and I'd just
Yeah.
walk with them.
It's pretty
And,
awesome, man.
I'd just chat to them for a few minutes
Yeah.
and I'd go, what's going on? Oh, my knee's sore. Oh, where
Yeah.
isn't sore? Like you just chat to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the best thing about this event been so far?
Yeah.
You just try and get their mind off it. And then they'll always do the same thing. They'll always be like, you run, you got to go. Like, I know you've
Yeah,
got this
always.
target.
Yeah,
And eventually I'll be like, all right, well, just keep at it. You're killing it. And I'd take
yeah,
off. And like
yeah,
those people would message me, you know, a couple of days later, and they go,
yeah.
you got me through that lap. Like
That's bloody awesome, eh?
I would have fucking pulled off the course after that if you didn't chat to
Yeah,
me. And I'm like, you don't realize you got me through that fucking lap.
yeah,
Like me
yeah,
stopping and chatting to you and helping you with your problems took my mind off my problems and my
yeah.
fucking
That's
knee
pretty
that hurt and
awesome.
my ankle that
Yeah,
hurt. Like,
yeah. It's
yeah,
helping each other
like,
in that way, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah, lifting other people up, man,
yeah. I love
is
that.
the way to do it. That's why I like
And
this
it,
community. And
yeah,
I think it's reasonably unique to OCR in
yeah.
that I've been in other sports
Hmm.
where you don't get it as much in road running. You don't get it as
Yeah,
much in trail running.
I'd agree with
OCR's,
that too.
I think a little bit special.
It is.
Um,
Yeah.
but I
I've
think
experienced
you
it in
can,
marathons and different events like that I've run that are purely running events, and it happens, but it's
yeah,
not as much as obstacle racing. There's just a big community there, and it's
yeah,
beautiful. Yeah,
yeah. I think it can happen everywhere, but I think
yeah,
it's
it can.
almost the norm in OCR. Like a
Yeah,
cult, it's just a
that's
really
a good way
nice
to put it.
culture.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And yeah, I wanted to say like a lot of this really shows in your coaching, and one thing I always say is like with when it comes to coaching and doing what we do for work is that at the end of the day, all the information that a lot of the information, not all of it, but some of the information that people need, it's all on the internet. We could get, you could type in, get a program online, get nutrition online, and you could find it all there, right? It's there. But the biggest
Yeah.
difference is having somebody that can guide you and help you and talk to you, and just the talking alone or just helping alone is just what people need to really feel that motivation and to really just to actually stick to what they're trying to do, whether it's an obstacle race, whether they're trying to help with their nutrition or help with their fitness level, whatever it is they're trying to get through or get through an injury. Even having somebody that's a coach like yourself that can hold them accountable and just talk to them,
Yeah.
it makes a world of difference. And yeah, regardless of what the challenge is in life, it's so important to talk to people, because that's how we get through our challenges and how we get through struggles, is by having somebody there to guide you and help you through it. So it definitely shows in that aspect of things too for you.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast
Mm.
with Lane Norton and Stephen Bartlett. I
Yeah.
think it was Lane Norton. It was definitely Lane Norton, but it was I think it was Stephen Bartlett's podcast. And
Yeah.
he said like what makes a good coach, and then he said
Yeah.
it's accountability with empathy. Like
That's a great way to
you
say
need
it.
somebody who can
Great way to
keep
say
you
it.
on track, but you also need somebody who can
Mm.
go, well, you've had a tough week. Maybe you need a little bit more recovery. Maybe
Yeah.
you don't, it's not time for you to do a run, but you
Yeah.
can go for a jog. And if you can't go for a jog, go for a walk. Like, and this is what
Yeah. I love that.
I say to clients. Um, you know, I actually use it in my sales process as well, where they're
Yeah.
like, well, what
Yeah.
am I going to get in terms of exercise?
Yeah.
And I'm like, results.
Yeah.
Like,
That's awesome.
the exercise is not the commodity, because
Mm.
you can go on YouTube, you can follow some really good influencers who put up workouts every
100%.
day. Do those
Yeah.
workouts, you'll get fit. Your
Yeah.
problem is not that you don't know what to do. Your problem is doing it. Your
100%.
problem is not
Yeah.
you like if somebody comes to me and says, I need a meal plan, I go,
Yeah.
why? Because I don't know
Yeah.
what to eat. Really?
Yeah.
What do you think you should eat? They go,
Yeah.
oh, vegetables and
Fruits,
not McDonald's. I'm like,
protein.
cool, eat that.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Definitely. Yeah.
oh, but can you do a meal plan? I'm like, well, I just solved the problem. You don't need
Yeah.
a meal plan. You need the fucking habits in place
Exactly.
to make you do, you need to take the actions that you need to take.
Yeah.
And once you realize that that's what coaching is, you're helping
Yeah.
people get to the results that they want to get, and you're helping them maneuver all the fucking ways that they personally trip themselves up.
Yes. That's a good way to put
You
it.
can help people,
Yeah.
get results. But
100%.
yeah, I really like that sort of accountability
Yeah.
with empathy, and like
That's a
saying to
that's a great way to say it.
somebody,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that this comes back to like
Mm.
you as a coach, you need to have made the fuck ups. Like
Yeah.
you can
Yeah. It
tell
helps so
somebody
much, doesn't it? Yeah.
100%. You can go,
Yeah.
listen, I know you want to take off when that start line goes because you're super competitive, but
Yeah.
it's a real good way to lose that race. And I can tell you
Exactly.
why, because I've done it.
Yeah.
Um,
I've walked
it
these
gives you that
steps.
empathy.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And I've
100%.
fucking,
It's like,
I've had problems with drinking. I've had problems with
yeah.
overtraining. I've had problems with drugs. I've had problems with all these things. I've had
Yeah.
binge eating problems. I've had all these fucking
Exactly.
things that I've
Yeah.
had to work out how to solve. And I think that makes you a better coach.
It really
Um,
does. I always say,
yeah.
like, if you're going on a path that you've never gone on before, you're better to take a guide. If you have somebody, a guide that's taking you on a journey that you've never been on before, or even a GPS in your car, right? That's like a
Yeah.
coach. They give you
Yeah.
the steps and when to take them, and that's what's
Mm.
important. It's just, and yeah, it's such a huge thing.
It's also somebody
Mm,
who can give you a top-down view of what's going on with no emotional attachment,
that's a
right?
great way to say it too.
Because
Yeah, yeah,
you know where you want to get to and what you want to do, but you also live
yeah,
inside your own head, and that's where all
exactly.
your fucking crazy thoughts are.
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas,
that's
like,
exactly right.
and I think
Managing the
athletes
mind and the
are,
feelings. Yeah,
yeah, I think when you start training some like high level athletes, like you just got to keep them out of their own head. You just got to go,
yeah,
you got to do the things you need to do. Just do them, just turn up,
yeah,
read your body, fucking recover, make sure you're getting your sleep.
yeah.
Um, you know, learning how to
Mm.
give people actionable steps to take. How do I put it? Like, we're all fucking crazy in our own minds,
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. We've got a
and
lot going on.
we organize our thoughts through talking
Mm.
about things, right?
Yes, yeah,
That's why, like, I'm a big fan of writing shit down. To like, what have I
yeah,
got to do in the morning? I'm gonna write it all down, because often
yeah.
I'll write
I think
something
that's
down, I'll
awesome.
put it on paper, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't even make any fucking sense now. I've written it down.
Yeah,
Like, when it was in my head,
it made.
it didn't make sense, but once I
Yeah,
put it down on paper, or I've spoken about it, or I've typed it out, I'm like,
yes,
actually, that doesn't actually make sense. And I think that's what coaches help you do. They help you untangle your own fucking craziness
that's
and
exactly right.
just give you things that you like, actions that you have to take to get where you
Yeah,
need to go.
that's exactly right, because the steps are there. Like most people know the steps that they need to tank. They just either don't know when to tank them, or they're mentally just not in a good place as to organize that pattern in their brain to go, okay, this is step one, step two, step three. It's like, you know, you can't go from A to Z. You have to do A, B, C, D, and that's what I think a coach is very good at going. Okay, this is
Mm.
A, this is going to be B for you, this is going to be C, and we're going to take you on that journey, and it just makes it so much easier. Yeah, but
Yeah, I
one thing I
think
wanted.
too,
Oh, sorry, you go. Yeah,
it's sorry, I think too, it's having as
yeah,
many tools in your toolbox as you can, understanding everyone's got different levers, everyone's got different
exactly.
triggers, everyone's got different fucking
Huge.
emotional traps that they fall into.
Yes, very
Um,
much so.
and learning that, I'm always wary of coaches who are dogmatic about anything. Like, you have to eat
Yeah.
this, or this is the only way to
Yes.
get results, or my fucking
Yeah.
program is the only way. It's like,
Yeah.
fuck that, man.
I see that too,
Like,
and I hate that stuff. Yeah.
when I speak to a client, it's like, we're going to find your solution. And your
Yes. I love that.
solution now might not be what your solution was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And it might not be what your solution is in 12 months, because you might have a new job and you've just had a kid. And then it's a new
100%.
solution to what you had. Like,
Yeah.
so it's understanding, where are you at? What's the best we can do with the situation you're at? And then be empathetic enough to give you the space to do it, but also
Mm.
hard enough to not let your fucking bullshit excuses get in the way.
100%. That's exactly right. Finding that middle ground is so important. It's something I talk a lot about with clients. I've got this little graph
Yeah.
that I always refer to. Up here's a line. This line is called being a dick to yourself. This line here is basically not doing enough. And the goal of
Yeah.
life is to be in the middle of that line.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick to
Fucking A.
yourself. Don't not do enough. You've got to stay in the middle
Yeah.
zone. And like that's where I'm like,
Yeah. I like
where
that.
I'm like try to get all my clients to go like in the middle, like don't be too
Yeah.
hard. Don't be not hard enough.
Yeah.
Like let's push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
every sort of
yeah,
coach finds their own system and their own way of explaining. And
exactly.
man, your content's
Yeah.
come a long way, I'll
I
say.
think I appreciate that too.
Um,
I really do. Definitely trying to step my
you're
game up there and help people as much as
yeah,
I
man,
can. Yeah. I
sweet
guess what I
as.
wanted to touch on next is all the exciting stuff you're doing now. Obviously to me you're being the host of Search for Her TV show,
Mm,
which I'm bloody pumped up for. I've seen that it's
yeah.
I watched the previous seasons. I know there has been previous seasons of the show. Absolutely love the show. And I'm excited for it to be bigger and better than it's ever been before. And what's bloody exciting is they've got you as the host, which I think is a perfect fit for the show. When you're out at these events, you already feel like, even though you may not be actually fully affiliated with some of these events, I feel like you were the host of a lot of these events anyway, even though you weren't actually hosting them. It just felt that way. So now that you're actually a host of this show, that's pretty awesome. And I've seen there's some really cool people that are going to be in the show. I've spoken to Peter Day before. Obviously, I've Lachlan Dainsey has beat me in many races. So I know Lachlan a bit
As
there.
all of us.
I've more seen him run past me. I've never really
Yeah.
had the chance to catch up to him. But yeah, so I mean it's very exciting. I see there's two female leads of the show. I haven't met them before actually. So that's awesome. But really cool, really exciting, mate. So how's it all been and how's it going so far?
Yeah, it's amazing, man. And it's funny because it sort of came out like that. Like, a couple of
Mm,
years ago, I was like, there's not really anyone doing media in
Yeah.
the space. Like,
Yeah.
if
There's not.
I'm not at a race, I want to know who wins the race. I want to know how they went.
Yeah.
Like, because I was interested in the sport, so
Yeah. Same.
I just started doing it. I just started interviewing
Yeah.
athletes. I just started getting finish line
Bloody awesome.
interviews, and and then I've live streamed events. I've live
Mm.
streamed High Rocks. So I
I've watched a fair
and
few
I
of it.
sort of just
That from
I
you.
sort of just thought I'm just gonna start filming this shit, and
Yeah. Bloody awesome.
hopefully eventually someone pays me for it.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, it's people are gonna learn who I am more, and that's probably gonna help the coaching
Exactly.
downstream.
Yes.
But I
Exactly.
really wanted to get into
Yeah.
the media side of things,
Yeah.
um, and sort of grow the sport. Um, yeah, and that's sort of how I got on the Search for Hurt radar.
Yeah.
Just
That's
doing that. We filmed a little bit of stuff. They had Spartan burpees as part of their qualies for this season.
Oh
So
wow.
Adam came up to chat to me. They actually had another host for the show for this year,
Oh
and
okay.
he just wasn't gelling. He just wasn't
Right.
doing he wasn't the right fit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Fantastic in his own way.
Mm.
Runs very successful stuff on TikTok and some other places, but just wasn't
Yeah.
the right fit for the theme of the show.
Yeah. Of
Um,
course.
so they came up to film a promo for this season, and
Mm.
yeah, the guys were like, "Fuck you," I think we had to film a burpee video,
Yeah.
and they said, oh, "Okay, so we'll write up a script, we'll do this, and can you just say something about this?" And I'm like, "How long do you want it to be?"
Yeah.
And they go, "Oh, this long," and I'm like, "Don't worry about a script, I'll just do it." And
Yeah. Love it.
we just did it in one take, and they were
That's
like,
bloody
"Oh,
awesome.
right."
Cool.
Which is just years of doing like live
Your
podcasts and
that's
just
what I was gonna say.
having cameras on
Your script
live.
is
Like
already done. Like yeah.
yeah,
You're
I just go off the cuff, man, which
exactly.
sometimes
Yeah.
gets me in
Yeah.
trouble, but
100%.
but
It can do that
but
too.
yeah, but
I've still got
it's
myself
sort of a
rolling.
skill that I sort of built over the years,
Yeah.
just turning the camera on.
Yeah.
So yeah, so after that they were like, "Oh fuck, this worked pretty well. Would you be interested in doing some stuff later in the season?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
Mm. Yeah.
Anyway, the host ended up pulling out, so I just pulled a
Right.
Stephen Bradbury and got the gig. And
Wow.
yeah, and it sort of ended up being a really cool fit because I sort of am already plugged in with the industry. So Search for
Yeah.
Hurt's all about finding a heap of savage athletes, getting them to do savage events, crazy
Yeah.
fucking things. So we find the guys like the Lockie Danzies, the Peter
Yeah.
Days, Lockie Danzy,
Yeah.
probably one of the best pound
One
for
of Australia's
pound
best
endurance
athletes
athletes in Australia of all
in the
time.
world, potentially.
Um,
Like, he's
Potentially,
up there. Yeah. Yeah.
it's an absolute tragedy that a lot
Yeah.
more people don't know who Lockie Dancy is because he's
I
truly
I can't agree
fucking
more.
world class.
Like, I
He
came third in an event to Lockie, and he not
yeah
only like in the sense of me coming third sounds great, right? And sounds like I'm close to Lockie. No, no, no. He did like 3 or 4 laps more than what I did. So
yeah
like
yeah
he was
yeah
first place, obviously, but it's like it was insane. That was in a 12-hour race. And just the
yeah
level that he performed at, like me and Glenn West, who came second, um, we were laps behind him still. There was no
yeah.
chance of anybody catching him that day. It's crazy.
And it speaks to the character of
Yeah.
Lockie in that
Yeah.
he's fucking laps ahead.
Yeah. Laps
Stop,
ahead.
you fucking
Laps ahead.
lunatic! You've already won.
Yeah, that's the
Like
thing too.
they can't
Yeah.
catch you.
There was
Like
no time for us to catch him.
he
Not at all. Yeah.
Yeah, like he
Yeah.
set records at, I think the year
Yeah.
that I did like 120 at the 24-hour enduro, he did 160. And like
Yeah.
I think he
I think I
won that
remember
by
that.
a lap.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
The
That's
next, I think
insane. Yeah.
2022, I think was the last 24-hour enduro.
Yeah. I think so.
Um,
Yeah.
Lockie went out and ran 16 laps.
Wow.
I think nobody was going to finish their 16th lap. So he'd already
Yeah.
won the race by lap.
Yeah.
And he goes, "I've got enough time." And he just ran out for a 17th,
Just for
and
fun.
yeah, he broke his own record year on year on year there.
That's insane.
So he was the king
Yeah.
of that event. Anyway, so we've got him on the show.
Yeah.
Absolutely
It's
world
pretty awesome.
class. We were at the Backyard
Yeah. I
Ultra
remember.
not last week, the week before, filming down there.
Yeah.
He fucking,
I'm bloody
did
excited to
really
watch
well
that.
there.
Yeah.
It's gonna make some cool TV. But
Yeah. I can't wait to
Lockie
see that.
qualified for
Yeah.
the show. Yeah, he
Mm.
qualified for the show 10 years ago,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
was the fittest then.
Yeah. By
And
far.
for
I
various reasons didn't get the gig. But 10
Yeah.
years, he's 46 and he's still like the best in the
Yeah,
country. He's fucking out of
that's insane to
control.
me too. Yeah, that's what's insane too.
Um,
He's not like a young 20-year-old anymore. It's like, but he's still the best. Like he's still up there. It's insane.
yeah, man.
Yeah, it's
He's
amazing.
insane. So yeah, so it's all about
Yeah,
finding these savages and then getting them to do savage events. And
Awesome way
it
to
sort
put
of
it,
just
eh?
worked out
Yeah.
really well because I've, got a bit of a background in
Mm.
in project management. I've got a bit of a background
Yeah.
in obviously I've been in this endurance space for a long time. So
Yeah.
when we're trying to plan the event, like the show and what we're going to do, like I've been able
Mm.
to value add and make
Yeah.
things better than they otherwise might have been.
I love that.
Um,
Yeah.
so we found some really nice sort of synergy between it all, and we've got some big plans, but we're going to
Mm.
be we're in the middle of filming now.
Yeah.
We'll have 9 episodes for Australia. We'll be on
Wow.
the Seven network come end of
Yeah.
June
Wow.
on
That's
free
awesome.
to air TV. We'll be on for 9 episodes there, and
Yeah.
then we go over to free to air over in New Zealand, and then we go
Nice.
streaming in Asia after that.
That's really cool.
Now we're working on something I probably shouldn't say. We're working on trying to
Yeah.
extend the season so that we've actually got a
Pretty
little bit
awesome.
more for New Zealand and Asia.
Yeah.
But we are currently working on that. But it's
Yeah.
the start of, I mean, this is season 4 of Search for Hurt. It was gone for
Yes.
10 years. This is the
Yeah.
start of what we're going to build. This year
Moving forward.
is the
Yeah.
return, but it will be getting bigger and better next year. We're already planning next year's
Awesome.
season. So it's going to
It
be, yeah,
has
it's going to be
so much
really,
potential.
really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bloody exciting. Like there's so much potential, and it's obstacle racing has just grown, in my opinion. It's getting bigger, not just obstacle racing, but endurance events and endurance challenges and endurance sports, and not just endurance, but just training and fitness and doing crazy hard things and challenges has grown. It's becoming more of a popular thing and a big challenge. And there's a space right
Yep.
now in the world for a show like Search for Her to come in and create some really good TV that I can't wait to see.
Yeah, I think so, man. Like Search for
Yeah.
Hurt was like 10 years ago, it was finding these hybrid
Yeah.
athletes. And back then there wasn't hybrid athletes weren't a thing. Like
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
existed, don't get me wrong, but there wasn't a
100%.
sport. There wasn't
No,
like Hyrox or
there wasn't High
I
Rocks.
mean,
Yeah. It wasn't.
obstacle racing was just starting,
It
but
was.
now you're
Yeah.
seeing I think you're seeing like the world got pretty fucking unhealthy for a while, you
Yes.
know.
Yeah. It's a good way to put it.
Macca's
Yeah.
terrible food. For 20, 30 years, the world got pretty unhealthy. And I think it's
Yeah.
starting to rebound back. I think
I'd
the
agree.
guys
That's
who
it.
were
Yeah.
influencers 10 years ago and celebrities 10 years ago, like now the guys who are
Yeah.
influencers and celebrities are like Andrew Huberman and fucking David Goggins. And
Exactly.
people are
People that care
changing
about
their
their fitness.
mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are changing their sort of view of exercise and what it means. And people are
Yeah.
starting to understand that movement is medicine and you have to move. You have to move your body to fucking get
That's
it to
exactly right.
work.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we're in
so I
that
think we're starting
generation.
to see a bit of a bounce back.
I definitely agree with
Um,
that. We're
yeah,
in that
which is
generation where
which is
it's sort
cool,
of
man.
needed now, where, maybe,
Yeah,
30,
but
40, 50 years ago, like, our grandparents, our grandparents' parents, like they were active just on a day-to-day basis. Like just, they walked a lot more than what we walk now. They just would
yeah,
do the laundry would just create much more effort than what it creates right now. Just everything that they did, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, just simple day-to-day tasks required 10 times more effort, where, we're
mm,
in a state where everything's getting easier, so a need for physical activity is rising. And once you know they just realize like a lot of mental health issues spring from people being inactive. So I
mm,
definitely think that more and more people that are struggling with mental health at the moment, because that seems to be on the rise, they're starting to realize that exercise is the answer to a lot of these issues. And
yeah,
understanding how to enjoy exercise is, I think, is a big thing. And that's where I think things like obstacle racing come in, because it is a bit more enjoyable than being in the gym doing a bodybuilding style workout. Because
yeah,
in the 80s and 90s, that's really what all the gyms were known for, is bodybuilding workouts. Where I'm very excited now, like a lot of gyms are starting to get monkey bars in, a lot of gyms are starting to get
yeah.
more functional equipment or just different things, or like running is becoming popular, which is crazy to say. That it's really cool that that's actually something that a lot of people are doing and are interested
Mhm.
in it. I've got friends that have never ever run before, and they just ran their first like 5 or 6 Ks like in this last
Amazing.
year. It's great. And it's if I
Yeah,
told them that like
amazing.
4 years ago, they'd be like, no, like I'm never ever running in my whole life. I'm never gonna run. And now they love it, and it's awesome. I love seeing stuff like that.
It's funny how you change and grow. Like
Yeah,
back
people
when
do.
I was in the corporate space,
Mm,
I was dating a girl who was a cop. We were together for a long time. She actually
mm.
took me to my very first obstacle race, which was a Tough Mudder, and I
Wow.
wanted
Yeah.
fucking nothing to do with it. I was
Yeah.
like,
There's no
don't
point
want
in.
to do this. It was like right at the
Yeah.
end of the relationship. I wasn't getting along with her particularly well or her
Yeah.
friends. And I I was like, nah, this
Wasn't
isn't for
keen.
me.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of this shit. You
Yeah.
know, I want to go to the pub with my mates.
Yeah.
Um, and it's funny, like 10 years later, I was sort of the biggest
Yeah.
coach in the space of obstacle racing in Australia. And it's funny how life changes. Like I
It is like
was,
that,
you
isn't
know,
it?
a
Yeah.
big drinker for a long time. And then
Mm.
I think 2019, I quit. I didn't drink for 5 years.
Wow. That's bloody
Um,
awesome, mate.
and I've just come back to like I've completely
Yeah.
changed my relationship with sort of habits and addictions and all that sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
so I met people while I was sober,
Mm.
and they're like, "Oh, hey man, let me buy you beer," and I'm like, "I actually don't drink," and they're like, "What the fuck? Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? Like, who even are
Yeah.
you?"
Yeah.
It's funny how you just go through life and you just end up in different
You do.
stages, and you never think you're going to do things, and then all of a sudden you're doing them, or you know
100%.
you think you're
And hopefully
always
for
going
the
to be
better
a
most of the
certain
time.
way. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a fucking journey, right?
Yeah.
It's a tragedy when I meet somebody that I haven't seen for 10 years and they're exactly the same.
Yeah. I'd agree with that too. Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, man.
Yeah. Like you've
Like,
had 10 years to do something, and each of their own. Everybody can live the life that they want
each
to
to their
live.
own.
But I definitely agree with that too. It's, just every day is a new opportunity. It is a chance to explore life in whatever way you want to explore it. And you don't
Yeah.
have to be the fittest person in the world. I think it's important to take care of your health for longevity
Yeah.
and just to be alive and function well. But
Yeah.
you don't have to train like a beast every single session or anything like that. You
Yeah.
don't have to do the best at your job or whatever it is. But at least, like, grow as a person, grow in other ways. There's so much more to explore with life than to, yeah, stay the same. I definitely, I can agree more with that.
Yeah. I think it's a language thing too. Like
Yeah.
if I say to a client, hey, how do you feel about running? They go, no, I'm not a runner. Go, well,
Yeah.
don't write it off.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not a
That's
runner
a good way to
yet.
put it.
You might not want to
Yeah.
be a runner now, but you might be a runner
Yeah.
soon. Like you
100%.
just never fucking know, man. Like don't
Yeah.
close doors because
It's a good way to put
there's
it.
things that I've thought that I would never want to do, and then I've done them, and I'm like, fuck, this is
Yeah.
actually pretty awesome.
I kind of agree more with
Yeah,
that.
so I actually
Yeah.
had a podcast with
Mm.
Renee, who's the managing
Yeah.
director of Parkrun for Asia Pacific.
Wow.
So we
That's awesome.
spoke to her
That would be
about a
really
month
cool.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool chat. But anyone
Mm.
who's wondering about running, fucking go to a park run, man. It's
Parkrun's the best.
amazing.
We took the kids last weekend, just to the local one here that we have. It's bloody awesome. The community out there was insane. I was holding my son and running with his scooter. He didn't want to ride his scooter,
Yeah,
and he didn't want me to
awesome.
pull in on his scooter. So I was like doing my best, walking majority of it, but running a little bit of it. But just the
Matt,
amount of people that stopped and just said bloody awesome, like, to me, and I'm like, I never met you before. I'm just like, this is incredible, and
yep.
it goes back and forth. And again, that sort of community that you create in obstacle racing,
Mhm.
it's growing in events like this. And obstacle
Yep.
racing is like a standard, but it's good to see that this is the first park run that I've been to in a while, and it was such a good event to be able to do that, and good for kids as well. It's great.
Yeah, that's sort of their main.
Mm,
Speaking of Renee, that's like their main metric. Is
wow,
we like they say we don't create runners, we build communities. Like
that's bloody awesome. Yeah,
that's their fucking thing. Like it's all
yeah,
about a
it
community.
feels that way too. It really does feel
Yeah,
that
and
way. Yeah,
that can be really powerful if you're somebody who's maybe is experiencing a bit of mental health,
yeah,
mental health difficulties.
very much so.
If if you're struggling with some stuff, you're probably a little bit
Mm,
isolated. Maybe you don't have a
yeah,
very supportive community. You're probably not exercising enough.
yeah,
You're probably not getting outside enough, getting sunlight enough. You're
yes,
probably not getting up early or have,
100%.
a regular sleeping routine. So if you can commit to getting to park run at 7 a.m. every Saturday,
Yeah, it's bloody good.
it's probably going to help you in a lot of fucking ways.
A hell of a lot of
Um,
ways. I think the hardest part for people is just getting to start it. But the thing is,
yeah,
it's so nice out there. Like, if you just went out there and walked, like, you're gonna get so
and you
much
can.
encouragement just from walking. It's incredible. And you don't even have to put
Yep.
that much effort in. But the people will walk past and say, "Hey, great effort for turning up today." It's just about being there and about being with the people. And yeah, I definitely agree with, like, who you surround yourself with really matters for your mental health and where your life heads.
100%.
And you don't have to be the best friends with these people. You don't even have to know their names, but just being in the community around them,
Mm.
you just feel good, and it just feels nice to even just be there and turn up. And
Mm.
eventually you might know their names. Eventually you might learn who they are. But yeah, that first time you go, it's such a good feeling, and then it just can only get better from there.
Yeah, and you get back what you give, you know.
Yeah,
Go there,
yeah, that's it.
encourage people. If you
Yeah,
see somebody struggling, pat them on the back as you run past them, like, you
yeah,
know, clap people in at the end. You
yeah.
know,
It's the
if
best.
you help, if you give to a community, it'll usually give back.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. But yeah, so
but yeah, we've got to
that's
wrap this
cool,
up.
man, that
But,
you've
yeah,
got some runners.
yeah,
There's something in it, dude. There's something like
yeah,
if you take somebody who can't run and then you get them to the point where they can run. And they're like
yeah.
with competence comes confidence, right? So
100%.
if you are just starting running, you're gonna be a bit shit at it, and that's to be
Yeah.
expected. And it's gonna fucking hurt, and it's gonna well,
Yeah.
hurting's maybe not the right word, but it's not gonna be super comfortable.
No, exactly. It's
But
part of
once you
everything.
get a level, yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit of mastery, you can find joy in it. Like I
Yeah.
can
I
go
totally
for
agree
a
with that,
run
dude.
here on the Gold Coast and be
Yeah.
like, that was a really nice run. Like I really fucking enjoyed that this morning.
100%.
Um,
You never
yeah,
see
sometimes
somebody
you
on
just
their
got to stick
first
at
run
something.
ever. You never see anybody on their first run ever and say, "Oh, that was so enjoyable. That was amazing." But you ask somebody on their 10th run or their 20th run,
Yeah,
and they're like, yeah, that was actually fun. It was actually really cool. And it's just like getting
yeah,
past that hurdle. I always use the
yeah.
imagery of like the first time you start anything, it doesn't matter what it is, like a nutrition plan, a training, running, like a new job or anything, right? It's like standing at the bottom of a mountain is always like the mountain's always going to look the biggest from the bottom, right? But if
Mm,
you just start taking those steps and just start with like one simple step at a time, the mountain just gets
hmm.
smaller and smaller. It doesn't get as
Yeah,
scary anymore. And it actually eventually you
100%.
start to enjoy the view while you're up there. So it's such a
Yeah,
good thing. And I think just getting started is the hardest part. But yeah, it makes a big difference
yeah,
for running and everything. Yeah.
for
No, it was
sure, man.
absolutely awesome talking to you today, Matt. I really appreciate it, mate. And it's been
Pleasure,
bloody
dude.
awesome. Yeah. No, I
Pleasure.
really appreciate it.
Um, One more thing we've got happening that's been cooking on the back channels. This is the first time I'm
Yeah.
talking about it publicly. So I'll give you the
Really?
scoop.
Yeah. Mate,
Is
I'm excited.
so
Yeah.
you've seen me run events over to like Thailand where we take people over and
Yes.
run
Yeah, I
guided
have.
tours, and we'll take like 12 people to say Spartan in Thailand at the Asia Pacific champs, and we'll take them
Yeah.
parasailing and cooking classes and Muay Thai and stuff like that.
That's bloody
So
awesome. Yeah.
I've actually just partnered up with a company
Yeah.
um, called Endurance Travel, which basically
Yeah.
does that. But they take people all over Asia, all over Australia. Um,
Wow.
so they run events like the Sydney Marathon, and
Oh, wow.
we'll be bringing hundreds of people to the
That
Sydney
is bloody
Marathon from
awesome.
Asia. So yeah, so
Yeah.
I expect to
That
see
is so
me
cool.
pushing into
Yeah.
that travel space
I love
and
that. Yeah.
in a big way, and pushing more
Yeah.
into the media around
That is
Asia as
awesome,
well.
man. Yeah. That
So
is such a
and
cool thing as
obviously
well.
the coaching as well.
Of course. Yeah. No, there's a lot of people from Asian Pacific countries that are really into running and really into these obstacle racing. So that is so
Mhm.
exciting. And that's awesome
Yeah.
that you get into the travel world too, Matt. That's going to be so cool.
So yeah, should be cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got
But
some
yeah, dude,
exciting
look,
things in the
I
future.
really enjoyed chatting to you as
Yeah.
well. That's
Yeah. Same.
always a
Yeah.
pleasure, mate. I'm hoping we can
Thank
share
you.
a course again soon.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love that. That'd be bloody awesome. I'll definitely have to sign back in. I've been out going for some runs again, so I'll be
Mate,
ready for an event
just next
soon.
time you're on the Gold Coast, come and do park run.
Yeah, I'd love
That's
that.
enough.
I'd absolutely love that. That'd be good. Yeah. All right, man.
Sweet,
Yeah,
buddy.
so good catching up with you, mate. I appreciate it. I'll stop the
Pleasure,
recording
dude.
here and